Welcome to Thoughts Roundup. So good to be with you again today. You're going to hear a lot of stories about Dallas, Texas, because that was such a big part of our lives. And it seems as though the Lord did so many wonderful things for us in the time that we spent there building the church. And I tell you, I got to thinking the other day and tell so many things about the wonderful miracles of the Lord. And I said, folks are going to begin to think that something wonderful and great, a miracle happens to me every week. But that's not the case. We're talking 65 years, at least, in the ministry. And that gives a lot of time for a lot of things to happen. But when we went to Dallas, I've told you before, we didn't have anything. I had $380, $360 or $80. And that's all we had. We didn't know anyone when we moved there. All we knew that the Lord, we felt the Lord wanted us to build a new church there. And so anyway, we got there. The Lord blessed us. Miss Johnny Fickling let us have the school gymnasium to start a church in. It was such a miracle, such a blessing. But we immediately started looking for land. Well, we didn't have any land, any money. And the land was so high in that area in the Casa View area. It was so high. And we just didn't know how we was going to ever come up with it. It was nothing for a piece of land to be worth $100,000, and during that time that was a lot more money than it is now. And some land was more valuable. And so there was a piece of land, nice piece of land on La Prada Drive. 9606 La Prada Drive in Dallas, Texas. And one day we saw a sign on this piece of land that we'd been looking at it. That's where they put old Christmas trees and little trash and little this and that. They couldn't put too much because it was too nice a piece of property. But we saw it, and it was for sale. And we went and asked the man how much he wanted for it, and it was just such a low figure. We just couldn't believe it. I believe, if I remember right, it was, I hope I'm saying it right, it's been a long time, folks, but I believe it was $7,000. And it should have been $75,000, maybe. And so my friends got together and they said, oh, if he can get that land there, we're going to help him out. And different ones sent us offerings, and so forth and so on. And I'm going to tell you another miracle about that later on. And so we gathered in enough money by borrowing and by people giving it and donating we got enough money, and we bought the land. Well, United Church Builders came in, and they had a way of getting financing through an insurance company, and we had plans, and we submitted plans to the city of Dallas for a nice, beautiful, modern A-frame church. And we submitted the plans to the city, and I can't remember. It seems like it was about 6 weeks. I received a call from the city, and they said your plans are ready. And I got there, and I went up to the counter, and I signed something, and the plans were approved, and everything was on go. I was so excited because Dallas was so big, and the lady that was at the counter said to me, she said, Reverend, she said, the main man here, the man that's in charge, has a note on these plans saying if you wouldn't mind, he'd like to speak with you. So I went back. I was ushered back to his office. Hey, folks, it was the most plush office I'd ever seen in my life. Deer heads, moose heads, all kind of stuff, game, and it must have been 75 feet, it seemed like to me, by about 50 foot, the office. It was out of this world. After a while, the man came back and he said, Reverend, you didn't have to come, but I kind of wanted to talk to you. I said, well, thank you. I want to come. He said, Reverend, I just didn't want to let you go without you knowing what has happened. That's what's transpired. He said, when you bought that land, it was absolutely worthless. He said, for many, many years, people have been trying to build on that land. They wanted to build all kind of apartments and this and that on it. But there was a pre-existing law that you had to have the parking so that and the building had to be built on the property in such a place, and all the property had to be in a certain, all the parking had to be in a certain way. And he said, just wouldn't happen. And said people would get up at the meetings that we'd have and try to get that changed. But he said, just a few days after you bought that property, he said, someone stood up on the committee and said, hey, why don't we release that property over on La Prada Drive and let someone build on it? It's just laying there. And he said it was a total surprise to the committee. People said, yeah, let's do it. And they voted so that you could build there. And I just wanted you to know that I feel good. I could have let you go on and you'd have never known it. Well, you know, God knows, doesn't he? If we could just trust him. He knows. Hey, y'all know, God's smart. He's very smart. God bless you.